All right, let's dive in. The AI boom. I mean, it's everywhere you look, right? A new, mind blowing model seems to drop every single week. But behind all those headlines about which chatbot is the smartest, there's a totally different game being played. It's a story about where the real money is flowing. And it turns out, this AI gold rush has some pretty surprising new rules.
So when I say AI race, what pops into your head? Probably a big showdown between ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini. A battle to see who can build the smartest, most powerful model. And yeah, that's part of it. But what if that's not really the whole story? What if the biggest winners, the ones making absolute fortunes, aren't even the AI labs building the chatbots?
Well, it all comes down to that classic gold rush analogy. Think about it. Back in 1849, who really got rich? It wasn't always the folks digging for gold. Nope, the ones who made a consistent fortune were the people selling the picks, the shovels, and, the sturdy blue jeans. And guess what? We're seeing that exact same thing happening right now, today, in this new AI gold rush.
Okay, so let's start at the very foundation, the most basic layer of all this, the hardware. These are the digital picks and shovels of our time. And to really get how this works, we've got to talk about a company that pulled off one of the smartest pivots I've seen in a long, long time. The company's name is CoreWeave. Now, CoreWeave's backstory is it's fascinating, because they didn't start out in AI at all. Nope. Back in 2017, they were actually called Atlantic Crypto. And what do? They mined Ethereum using thousands and thousands of powerful graphics cards, GPUs. But then the crypto market crashed hard in 2018, and they were at a crossroads. They could have just sold off all that hardware for pennies on the dollar, but instead, they had this light bulb moment. They realized their huge stockpile of GPUs was exactly what the exploding AI industry was desperate for. So in 2019, they pivoted. They completely transformed into a specialized cloud provider just for AI. And did that pivot pay off? Oh boy, did it ever. Just look at this growth. It's insane. They went from being a crypto miner to an absolute AI infrastructure powerhouse. And get this, in just 1 year, between May of 2023 and May of 2024, their valuations skyrocketed from $2 billion to a staggering $19 billion. That's not just growth, people. That's an explosion. And it was fueled by one thing: the world's unstoppable, insatiable hunger for AI computing power. So how do you fuel that kind of insane growth? Well, to understand that, you've got to look at this number: $2.3 billion. Now, that's not their valuation. That is the size of a single debt deal they landed back in August of 2023. But it's not the money itself that's the story here, it's how they got it. And this is where you really see the new rules of the AI gold rush in action. CoreWeave got that massive loan by putting up its supply of NVIDIA's H100 chips as collateral. Think about that for a second. This was the first time anything like this had ever been done. The picks and shovels, the GPUs, were so valuable, so critical, that banks treated them like they were gold bars. The hardware itself literally became the currency. Okay, so that's the hardware layer. That's one huge piece of the puzzle. But what about the software that makes it all run? The stuff that organizes everything. If we move up one level in the stack, we find what you could call the tools and blueprints. And the company we have to talk about here is Databricks. So, the secret sauce for Databricks is that they solved this massive headache that pretty much every company has with its data. They came up with this idea they call the data lakehouse. Now, here's the simple version for AI to work. It needs a ton of really clean data. But companies usually had their data scattered in two different messy places. You had data warehouses for all the neat, structured stuff, and then data lakes for everything else. What Databricks did was build one unified platform that could handle both, creating the perfect single source of truth for any company serious about AI. And just like we saw with CoreWeave, where there's a critical need, the money follows. I mean, look at these funding rounds. It's an incredible story of growing confidence from investors, building and building until you get to this, a jaw-dropping $10 billion round in late 2024. And look closely at who is investing. It's not just the usual VC firms. You've got strategic investors like NVIDIA in the mix. They get it. They know that the platform that manages the data is every bit as critical as the chips that process it. And they're not just sitting on that cash either.
Databricks is being incredibly strategic. They've been on a shopping spree, buying up companies that specialize in every single piece of the AI puzzle, from how you manage and secure your data, all the way to a startup that helps you build generative AI models. They're building the ultimate all-in-one workbench that every big company is going to need.
Okay, so we've got the hardware layer with companies like CoreWeave and the software platform layer with companies like Databricks. But how are the actual customers, the big enterprises, putting all this stuff to use? Well, that brings us to the winning strategy that's starting to take shape across the industry. And honestly, it's probably not what you're thinking.
Let's take a look at Snowflake, for example. They're a huge player in the data cloud world, so they just signed a $200 million deal with OpenAI. That's a massive bet, right? Well, here's the kicker. Just 2 months before that, they signed another $200 million deal with Anthropic, OpenAI's #1 competitor. You see what's happening? They're not trying to pick the one winner. They're betting on everyone.
And why are they doing that? Well, here's the logic, and it comes straight from Snowflake's head of AI. The key word is choice. The world of AI models is moving at lightning speed. Nobody, and I mean nobody, knows which model is going to be the best for any given job in a year, or heck, even in 6 months. So if you lock yourself into just one provider, you're taking a huge risk. The smartest move is to stay flexible, to be what they call model agnostic. And hey, this isn't just a Snowflake thing, it's becoming a pattern. The big enterprise software company ServiceNow, they're doing the exact same thing, inking parallel deals with both OpenAI and Anthropic. This shows us it's a deliberate industry-wide trend. Big companies are building their entire AI strategy around one core idea: flexibility. They want to be able to use the best tool for the job always, no matter who built it. So when you put all these different pieces together, the hardware, the software platforms, the enterprise strategy, a whole new picture of the AI ecosystem starts to come into focus. It's not some simple one-on-one race to the finish line. It's a really complex, multi-layered market, and there are different winners emerging at every single level. So let's just break it down one last time. This is the new AI stack. Layer 1, at the very bottom, you have the essential hardware from companies like NVIDIA. Layer 2, you've got the specialized cloud providers like CoreWeave that make all that hardware easy to use. Layer 3 is the critical data platform, the workbench from companies like Databricks. And it's only then, at the very top, that you get to the AI models from OpenAI and Anthropic that grab all the headlines. And here's the real takeaway. A massive amount of the value and the real power is being captured in these bottom layers, way before anyone ever types a single prompt into a chatbot. Which really just leaves us with one big question to think about. In this new AI gold rush, who's going to win the biggest prize? Is it going to be the prospector who gets lucky and finds that one massive gold nugget? Or is it going to be the person who sells the picks, the shovels, and the maps to every single prospector out there, guaranteeing they make a fortune, no matter who strikes it rich? That, right there, seems to be the new rule of the AI economy. Thanks for tuning in.